Welcome to episode 8A of Betty Draper Sucks. My name is Cameron. My co-host is Dave. We're going to talk about some TV shows this week. We're also going to record the episode in full while knowing that we're doing it.
My bad.
Because we just talked for about 20 minutes.
Well, it wasn't 20
being
minutes.
recorded. Zorbo is a complete fuck up.
To be fair,
we crossed some boundaries.
It wasn't entirely my fault.
We crossed some boundaries in our discussion. And I thought it was the best talk we've ever had in our lives, but it's gone. And
well, it wasn't gone because it was never there.
I didn't even watch it. I didn't watch any of the shows this week. And hold on, I got to take a bite of Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah, okay. I forgot to press record. Can we just move on and start the podcast now?
We can talk again about episode 5 of Girls, called Hard Being Easy. About Hannah embarrassing herself in front of her boss, about Marnie and Charlie's pained relationship and subsequent breakup, and Jessa's completely irrelevant story about fucking some dude with a mustache and Shoshana watches. Dave, what were your thoughts on this episode again?
Well, like I said, my main thing that I loved about this episode was how Charlie and Marnie's relationship is sort of only existed just because they don't want to be, well, mostly because she doesn't want to be on her own. And how that really parallels real life.
Yeah, like I said, the writing in those scenes.
Stop rubbing it in.
Okay, I'll stop. I mean, it's going to be hard not to do it. But anyway, the writing in those scenes and interaction between the two characters and the type of things that they touched on was very authentic to me because, I mean, when you really are in love with a girl, you don't think about her tits and her ass, or, you think about her hair and you think about how she laughs and you think about how she smells. Those types of things are the things that a person really, that's what they think about when they're really into you. They think about the things that most people wouldn't really care about. And he told her that he chose her, and he was decided on her, and she was the girl that he wanted to be with. And in the previous episode, you saw Charlie finding Hannah's diary and performing lyrics from the diary with Ray, his friend, who rules, on stage, and basically pretty ballsily confronting Hannah and Marnie about the fact that the relationship was completely broken apart, and he had no idea. And in this episode, we find, when it starts, Charlie, Marnie, and Hannah arguing. And Charlie's being his non-normal alpha self. And you see Hannah being entirely self-absorbed in the entire scene, asking Marnie that on a writerly level, did she like what she had written. And she also objected to the fact that Charlie called her writings a journal, in which she thought it was a notebook because she thought that a journal implies a 13-year-old who's really obsessed with her mother.
And horses.
And horses. In the entire context of this relationship, Charlie and Marley's long relationship breaking up, all she can think about is herself.
Relationship? Charlie and
Marley. Charlie and Marley, whatever. Their relationship is breaking apart at the seams, and it's her fault, and all she can really care about is herself. Which is, through 4 episodes and now 5, that is a clear machination of hers.
Yeah, it's also funny to see how Hannah's so self-centered that she immediately thinks that her boss just being touchy means that, he must want just to fuck her.
Yeah, she wants the story, as Jessa told her to do. To fuck him because of the story, and like you said, she is so self-centered, and she wants to assert some sort of power and independence over something in some sort of situation that she can control. She attempts to fuck her boss, and he rebukes her with a laugh after being forced to touch her tit, and she storms out of the office and quits in a irrevocable situation, and the boss actually asked her to stay.
Yeah, also in this episode we had Jessa going off with this ex-boyfriend of hers, fucking him just because she wants to prove to herself that she's still got this sexual power over men when she can't get any from this husband and father that she's trying to get some from in her part-time job. And also I really enjoyed the relationship that Shoshana and her have got, and how they're both completely different sexually, complete opposite of each other, but they still sort of have this interesting relationship with each other.
And what did she say? She's not. What was the word she used? That she said that she wasn't smiteable. She's unsmotable or whatever.
Yeah, unsmotable. Yeah.
And then, of course, the whole scene preceding that with the boyfriend and everything, I didn't really particularly enjoy. I thought it was kind of a copy and paste scene just to have her in there, kind of like the one was last week. And another sexual scene in the episode is in Adam and Hannah when she goes over to his apartment and she just shows up out of the blue and he expresses anger, underlying anger, at the fact that she didn't call because he's busy doing whatever the fuck it is he does, and she goes over there. She thinks they're dating. He doesn't think they're dating, and the whole excellent scene in the last episode between him and her was it didn't hit him at all, and the only reason he kissed her was because she looked sad. The only reason they had sex is because they kissed, and so Hannah's obviously disappointed that that this isn't the man that she's going to be with. And she goes and has a nice cry in the bathroom, and when she comes out, he's jerking off. And he's looking to her for dirty words to get him off, and she eventually goes along with it, saying that he's, a whore and all this stupid shit. And
it's funny how...
Go ahead.
It's funny how that the two of them, normally they've got this real sort of dominant and submissive relationship. Like, he's the dominant one, he's controlling where they are emotionally, he controls where they are physically, he controls, whether they're even together or not, but he's still, we find out that now he wants to be sexually submissive.
Yeah, well, that part of their relationship was shown in, I think, the second episode, and I think it opens and they're having sex, and he's trying to get her to be a little whore, and she's 12 years old, and he's going to send her back to her parents covered in cum. So, I mean, they've always had this kind of really weird sexual relationship that you might even think that Hannah enjoys because it's so different from everything, and it's actually honest. And the fact that they can both satisfy themselves in that unique way is probably a major contributing factor to the fact that they were together in the limited capacity they were for so long until... she doesn't step on his balls and leaves.
Yeah, I wish she did step on his balls. That would have been hilarious. But the fact that he even asked was amazing. Made me laugh so hard. More than anything I've laughed at in this whole past season of TV, I think.
Here we had the fourth episode of Veep air this weekend. And it was called Chung. And what did you think of this episode, David?
This show's been going from strength to strength. Every episode so far is funnier than the last one, I think, and this one was no exception. It was hilarious. So many little moments, and the way the situation completely spirals out of control again. The show's really found a nice little... it's got this running story, but it's also found this little... this little thing that it can do that it works, and it's hilarious, and the characters all respond well, and it's really coming along nicely, this show.
The cast works incredibly well together, and it seems like this isn't the fourth episode of a season. They've got they've got all this time together. It seems like their chemistry is incredible. And I think it's a show that is really, really going to benefit from a rewatch because it's so fast moving and there's so much stuff going on. There's so much stuff you miss. And it's not like a show like The Wire or The Sopranos where you do get a lot more the second time. But it's going to be a show that I think is going to be really rewarding to watch or rewatch because once you know the plot and once you know the general direction of the episode, you can kind of tune in to hear the little one-liners and all the other shit.
Yeah. It was a great episode for one-liners as well, especially with Jonah being around a lot more than usual because the vice president needs to have a VP, a vice president visual presence. And
that was outstanding.
Yeah, everyone hates Jonah, which sort of it's always funny in a show when everyone's got a one character that they all can sort of concentrate their hatred towards, but that character's also kind of outside of the main circle, and they can't really affect his life or make it worse or anything like that. They can just sort of do little things, and it's really funny, that little relationship that they've got with him.
All right, for a plot recap of the episode, obviously, you've got the Veep saying something controversial on Meet the Press, where she calls a Chinese war hero a half American and implies that, he wasn't born here and can't take her slot. And in a continued thread of her being completely absorbed and thinking everything can hurt her.
It was funny to see that the dude that she heard it from got fired for that as well. I mean, you kind of think, it was a fuck up, but in most jobs, a fuck up like that wouldn't get a person fired. But politics is so brutal when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah, what did he say when he left? He's like, "So long, Scott. You're a professional something." He says he basically implies that his professional life is over. You also got the Veep paying visit to a hospital, which a bunch of crane collapse victims and survivors are congregated together, and they already know about her half American rule, and they're very birther, like she seems to be, so that they engage in an impromptu USA chant, and you see Gary.
It's the yellow. It's the White House, not the Yellow House.
Yeah, you see Gary trying to turn the volume down. Instead, he turns it up, and you see Dan reach over there and just rip the plug out of the wall, because what was on the TV was her the whole news story about how she's a racist, apparently. And then she loses her support on filibuster reform from the other senator who didn't like that there were two oil guys on a clean job. So Amy and Dan have to go to the what seems like a steakhouse with snakeskin seats to convince these guys from New Mexico.
Two racist guys, Arizona and New Mexico.
Arizona, New Mexico guys to basically just get rid of all the spics. And the thing that I noticed in that scene was Dan's uncomfortableness around people, and that Amy seems to be able to navigate those waters a little better than he can. And she was the one who really got that all going.
Yeah, those two have got it's kind of been underplayed so far, but those two have got kind of a nice little backwards and forwards, sort of proving to each other how much political savvy and capability they've got at their job. This little competitiveness, backwards and forwards thing's going pretty well.
Amy, is a major lightning rod in this series. I think all the main threads and all the kind of non-camaraderie that exists within the office all plays off of her. And she's always, she seems to be always in every single conflict. There's not Gary and what's his name? What's the other guy's name? The old dude with the fake dog.
Mike.
Gary and Mike, they don't really have the moments that she seems to have with Jonah and Dan and Mike and everybody. And I think a lot of the conflict from the show in the way that the humor plays off that comes from her. So she's a more important character than most. Anyway, a couple one-liners I wanted to express admiration for was when Jonah walked into the office and said, "Hey, here's Jonah, everyone's favorite Jonah." And I think it was Amy that said, "You're not even your mom's favorite Jonah." And it's said off screen. You don't even see her, so that's what's great. And then when Selena's freaking out, she says, "That door should be half its height so that people can only approach me in my office on their goddamn motherfucking knees."
It's always funny seeing Julia Louis-Dreyfus swearing after 9 years of not being able to do it on Seinfeld.
Yeah, when I first saw her say "fuck" on Curb Your Enthusiasm, I was like, "All right, that's different."
It's rustling your jimmies downstairs a little bit.
My jimmies are completely rustled right now; they're so gone.
So we got Theon being a cunt. We got Jon Snow being a pussy. We got Gregor Clegane being fucking scary. We got Tywin being smart. We got Daenerys being an idiot. We got Rob being in love. We got Sansa being an adult, bleeding all over the place. We got Jaime being a murderous cunt, like he always has been.
That sounds like a Game of Thrones episode to me.
Yeah, and we got Cersei being emotionally honest with herself and with Sansa and with Tyrion, which makes a change.
Yeah, she's there's a little bit of a humanity brought out in the two scenes that she had in the episode. and the entire episode was outstanding. And in my mind, the show continues to be the best show on television right now.
Yeah.
It is completely full of suspense every single moment. Every line has weight, and it is just the most thrilling and excellently written and acted show on TV right now. And this episode just continued that trend with outstanding character stuff, especially from Jamie, who we haven't seen in a long time. He dominates the scenes he has, and he is outstanding in this episode.
Yeah, Jamie's someone we've not seen for a long time, and I kind of forgot about how brutal and, how powerful a character he is until now. It was a great return for him, and hopefully there's only 3 episodes left of the season now, so hopefully we'll see him in the last 3.
I don't know if he'll be in all 3 of the last. I think something's going to happen with him in this next episode. Catelyn obviously wanted to do something bad with him. And, who knows how long he's going to sit there shitting himself. But it would be nice to see him in all 3 episodes.
If he was executed, the show would definitely step it up in terms of the war between the Starks and the Lannisters. It would become much more real, and we might see. This is just me talking out of my ass because I got no idea what's going to happen. But I think it's possible that if Jaime was executed, what did I say like that? Executed. If Jaime was executed, we'd probably see a little bit more of a step up in that sort of violence between the Starks and the Lannisters, and Stannis and his forces might be put on the back burner a little bit, and the relationship between him and the Starks might change.
Well, I've heard some spoilers about what happens in the books. You never know what's going to happen in the show. They've been pretty faithful. I know whether or not he gets executed, but I'm not going to say, obviously. But yeah, if that is what would happen, then that would definitely intensify things. But I don't think Catelyn would let that happen due to the fact that he's really a major bargaining chip for them, and so is their daughters for them.
Yeah, yeah.
And if any harm comes to Jaime, if any harm comes to Jaime, all bets are probably off. So she's going to try to keep him alive as long as she can.
I think he probably knows that as well, because he's probably thinking, "Why? How come I'm not dead already?"
Yeah, he was definitely goading her into killing him because he knows what that would happen. He's ready to die.
Well, he's more just proving that she can't kill him.
Yeah, obviously, but he,
Stop saying obviously. Fuck.
Sorry, I say it a lot. What do you want?
It makes me feel like an idiot.
Cunt. Stop sounding like a cunt. Yeah, I think you're right about that, David. I think he's definitely testing them to see what they'll do. But in general, I think he knows that the bargaining chip he is, but I also think he's ready to die.
Also in this episode, we saw a progression of the Jon Snow story. Things are going to get a lot worse for him over the next few episodes, we think.
I have no idea what happens to him at all. I've heard nothing about him in the actual few spoilers that I've gotten. So who knows what's going to happen with him?
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to get more relevant with what's happening in the rest of Westeros.
Well, it is still relevant within the world. Not, it's not as distant as Dany, but it still plays into the the Westeros story because it's the wildlings are even deeper north.
Yeah,
and
by the way, I looked at a map of the Game of Thrones world, and Karth is fucking miles away from Westeros. It's like, I don't know, probably 5 weeks on a boat, maybe. It's ages away.
Yeah, it's really far away. The world is pretty huge in this. It's a Pangea type of deal.
Yeah, Essos, where Dany is much bigger than Westeros, but it's it's pretty huge.
In this episode, we see Theon continuing to bungle everything possible that he can do in Winterfell and being nothing but a cunt. And
I never liked him, but I like him even less now.
Yeah, he's his, the things he's doing. He went to his dad originally just to try to impress Robb, and then now he's going against Robb just to try to impress his dad and his sister and anybody else. He's desperately in need of some reassurance and some love, And it's funny to think that those those types of motivations can cause somebody to do the things that he's done. And he makes the town believe that he's charred and hanged Rick and Bran for running away.
Although the expression on his face makes it seem to me like he didn't really know that was what was going to happen.
Yeah, you could tell that he was horrified when he looked at it. He was like, whoa. He was like, what am I doing?
But yeah, I don't think that was them. I've got a feeling that they wouldn't kill off those two characters, especially after we've had so much build-up of what's happening with Bran and his dreams and the three-eyed raven and the being able to control the dire wolf and all that kind of thing. It seems weird that they would kill him off. So I think it's unlikely that he's actually dead.
No, Bran isn't going anywhere, and I hope Hodor is okay.
I
like hearing him reply with everything with Hodor.
He's my favorite character.
He's got a horse penis too.
I love how whenever he's mentioned, he just goes, "Oh, Hodor."
Yeah, and Osha was questioning whether or not he'd get tired, and he was like, "Hodor."
Yeah, it's breaking occupational safety and health regulations. That's why Osha was concerned.
You've ever been? That was the least funniest you've ever been. You got in this episode an outstanding scene with Tywin and Arya, and their scenes have been so great. And Charles Dance and Macy Williams are destroying it every week in the scenes that they get. And I really love how they play off each other and how he seems to enjoy her as he finds her, intelligent, obviously, and quick-witted and funny. And they have this weird father-daughter relationship that's tenuous. And I think that he obviously doesn't think that she's the daughter of a stonemason, and he knows that she's noble. I'm not exactly sure, like you suggested a couple episodes ago, that he knows who she is, but I think he definitely has a clue that she's something else than what she says she is.
It's interesting to see that the main thing that Tywin's concerned with is his family's legacy, and that's all he really wants to do is see that the Lannister name is kept in high regard and is important in the world and, involved with the royal family like he's always been for, 25 years or however long he was the Hand of the King for. And then you've got him talking to Arya about that, whose family legacy's been completely obliterated by the Lannisters.
Also, I think it's a big deal that he proves to his family and to himself that he's better than his father.
Who was his father again? I can't remember. Did he say his name?
Yeah, his father's name was Titus.
Did they mention that in this episode?
No, he mentioned it previously in a previous episode that he was kind but weak. And he wasn't really a fierce, person, and he was good to his children, but he didn't. He's better. Tywin's basically, better than his dad.
Yeah. Every successive generation of Lannisters gets more cunning and more brutal. Because Tywin doesn't seem... He's almost as cunning as Tyrion, but he doesn't seem to be as brutal as Jaime. And it seems like that sort of intensifies as it goes down the family line. And obviously Joffrey's one of the crazy ones.
I think I definitely think that Tywin is brutal. You don't see him killing people like you see like Jaime killing people, but you also see Tywin telling the Mountain to burn villages and kill everyone he can find to basically find who was trying to kill him. So he's still pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned earlier, you had Sansa finally having her period, and Shay tries to help her by flipping over the mattress, and then one of the other handmaidens finds her. Shay goes out and chases her with a knife and threatens her, and comes back to find the Hound in there with Sansa. So she's fucked, and Cersei
Literally.
and she's now able to be fucked. I meant that like that, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Now Cersei and Sansa have a discussion about, what her life's going to be like, and how Cersei got through it by not loving anybody besides her children, and she find Sansa still trying to stick to the fact, or trying to tell everyone that she loves Joffrey, which she obviously doesn't, and she thinks she's supposed to so much. And I mean, that might be a something that will help Sansa a lot in the future with her relationship with Joffrey, whatever that actually turns out to be. I'm not actually sure how stable this Queen deal is.
No, that's right. And it seems to me like Cersei was really sort of coming into a realization as to how much of a bad person and a bad mother that she's been this whole time.
I also thought it was interesting in the scene between Cersei and Tyrion that she basically admitted that Jaime was the father of her children and that they had sex a bunch of times. And either that was revealed earlier or there was some understanding, because Tyrion took that really in stride.
Tyrion knew that already.
Yeah, I mean, he knew it, but I don't think that they had acknowledged it with each other, but he really took that in stride. And with his suggestion that the Targaryens did it, and she rebuffed him with that. But that was also another scene in which Cersei was having some sort of heart-to-heart with actual emotions. And her humanity was actually shown in this episode, and she had a little moment with Tyrion where she cried, and he actually seemed to care a little bit, which is more than we've seen from her this entire series.
Yeah, it makes her a little bit less of a villainous character. I mean, she still is, but it seems like she's got a more human side now. Everyone sort of always assumed that Joffrey was a little shitbag because, he had this father that father in Little Bunny Rabbit Quotes, not really his father, Robert, but, he had this father that was not present and was abusive, and then his mother was ignorant and aloof, but maybe she was trying to be a good mother, but, because of the whole incest thing, it makes people crazy, like Aerys Targaryen.
Speaking of the Targaryens, you have Dany and her saga in Karth coming to a abrupt end, eventually, not yet, but her dragons were stolen by Xaro and the weird magician guy in an attempt to draw the 13 together so he could slit all their throats and be king of the city. And they tell her that, we have your dragons, we did it to fuck these niggas over, and they did it. And she runs out of the room with Jorah and one of the other dudes, presumably to go to, where is it? The Hall.
Hall of the Undying.
The Hall of the Undying, which sounds like a pretty nice place to be.
Sounds like a Doctor Who headquarters.
Sounds like a pretty nice place to be. And yeah, basically, the Karth stuff is getting kind of annoying.
It's getting old.
But it was good to see that something was actually going on here.
I'm hoping that in the third season the whole thing will come together and the Game of Thrones, as it's called, will become more and more exciting, because it's definitely been exciting for this second season, but we've had these peripheral action. We've had these characters that have always been on the edges, in having their own little peripheral action and not getting involved, like Jon Snow and like Dany, and maybe in season 3 when it comes around, we'll see more of that getting involved.
Well, the Game of Thrones will have less and less players as it goes on,
because you either win or you die.
And of course, we've got Stannis and his.
We haven't seen
fleet.
A lot of him for a while.
Yeah, we have him and his fleet rapidly approaching Knight's Landing. And
King's Landing.
Want to say Knight's Landing? What's Knight's Landing?
Sounded like you said Ned's Landing to me.
Of course, we have Stannis.
That's where his head
fleet
landed.
Approaching King's Landing with his big army, as Tyrion warned Cersei about. And we haven't seen them in a couple episodes, as you said. So, that is something that's gonna happen over the last 3 episodes, and fire will be rained, I guess.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there's going to be some big, expensive set pieces in the last few episodes, because it's been leading up to that way. Hey, by the way, did I tell you that there was some chick doing the at work on the weekends, they do this, like these charities come and they do barbecues, like fundraising out the front of the store. And on the weekend just gone, like they have a whole family comes and does it. Like, the little kids help out and they give people the sauce and shit like that. And this one family had a kid, and one of the daughters' names was Aya.
Nice.
She's probably like 9. I mean, it's certainly possible she was named after the...
yeah, it is.
Because the books came out in like 95 or whatever. But yeah, things are definitely coming to a head in this season, and we're going to see the action really ramp up over the last 3 episodes.
Yeah, obviously, the last 3 episodes are going to be pretty action-packed with everything coming to a head. There was something that Dave, that you wanted to talk about this week. What was that?
Well, the fact that Mother's Day was last weekend got me thinking a little bit about how we can sort of talk about the role that mothers have got on TV, because obviously TV shows are written by people, and those people have had experiences in their life, and their mothers have had an influence on their art. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about some of the mums that we experience on TV and how they affect the other characters in the shows.
Well, obviously, we can't talk about all the moms. One of the biggest moms in television history is, of course, Marge Simpson of The Simpsons, who is, initially portrayed, as a good housewife, a good mother, a good person who maybe nags a little too much, and generally has a good hold on herself in the world.
She's a important role model in her kids' lives as well. She's not always perfect, but she tries her best, and that's one of the most important things. It reminds me a bit of she in that way she reminds me a little bit of Ruth from 6 Feet Under. Obviously, you haven't seen that, but she's pretty similar in the way that she tries to hold her family together, even though she's got her own problems and she's not perfect. She's still trying to hold them together. Whereas on the other side, you've got mums that are destructive and vicious and spiteful, like Lucille from Arrested Development, and also Mallory from Archer as well, who's also obviously same actress and similar sort of personality. But then we've also got more sort of serious drama show mothers like Skylar from Breaking Bad. We got obviously just talked about Cersei and maybe redeeming herself a little bit from Game of Thrones. But a show that's got probably the worst mothers on TV is The Wire.
Yeah, I mean, the characters in that show there's like none of them that are portrayed as having good family lives, especially Namond and his mother, who is basically a cunt, and she just wants him to be to make the money for her, to be hard like Weebay is, and it's not the life for him, obviously. And then yeah, go ahead.
She reminds me of the mums from Toddlers and Tiaras and other sort of theatre mums like that, like Jenna from 30 Rock's mum. That same sort of living vicariously through your children, which is one of the worst things a parent can do because it totally messes up the kids.
One of the best scenes in the history of The Wire is when Delanda goes to the prison to visit Weebay, and Weebay tells her that Namond is going to be Howard Bunny Colvin's son now, because he can be so much more than she wants him to be. And finally, you see her get shut down by somebody. The only person who could really shut her down was Weebay. And that was a baller scene.
Yeah, it's important to note the way that Weebay is the one in jail, but he's in his time that he's spent there. He's come to terms with the life that he's been living and the life that his comrades have been living, and the way that it always leads to either a cell or a box on the ground. And he doesn't want that for his son. He's becoming. Maybe jail is a good thing for some people because he's becoming responsible. He's becoming, he's becoming a better father, and he wants what's best for his son.
Yeah, as he said to her, when he's like, he said to her that Bunny said that Namond could be anything that he wanted, And Delonda, in her way, replied, "But not a soldier." And then he sagely remarked that, "Look where he is. Why would anybody want to be this?" And I mean, that is a theme in that show, that the mothers are just destructive, bad people, and not exactly caring for the child, just like the incredible scene with Brianna and Jimmy.
Yeah, the thing with Brianna is that the role that she had in her son's life is not as prominent as the role that Delonda had in Naaman's life, but she still was kind of responsible and in the background, and she was influential on what Avon did to D'Angelo and how he ended up in that situation. And she could have prevented it, but she was too busy trying to maintain this organization and trying to keep her wealth coming in. It's a different sort of relationship that she had with her son as to what Delonda and Naaman's relationship was, but it was still not putting her son, first. And as she finally realizes that, she becomes inconsolable and bursts into tears. Whereas Delonda sort of was just sort of resigned to the fact, and she actually still wanted things to stay that way with him being the breadwinner. Whereas Brianna kind of realized, oh shit, everything I've done is I've killed my son.
Yeah, and it does make a big difference that Naaman's not dead. And there's no more regret that Brianna could have. I mean, there's nothing she can do now. Delonda, she was sabotaging Naaman, but she still, she didn't kill him, and Brianna almost did directly.
But yeah, one of the worst mothers pretty much in TV history is the one who our podcast is named after, Betty Draper. Especially in this latest episode, she's spiteful, she's vindictive, she uses her children as a weapon, and she's all around a bad person, but it's especially bad because she's a bad mother.
Betty is very childish, and she doesn't shield her children from the world. And the way she treats her children is as if they are aware of the world as she is. And she needs them to be adults right away, and she's not a good mother in the fashion that she doesn't understand her children. Like when Sally ran to Don's office in season 4, and she was like, "Well, it's no fun watching her. She's no fun to watch." It's like, that's your job. It doesn't matter. And the way that the smog towards the end of the episode is hanging over Megan and Don's apartment, and Don can't open the window because Megan doesn't want it in to kill, is obviously, is, in my opinion, a obvious thematic reference to Betty and how she's hanging over the relationship, and the fact that it cuts right to the Francis family Thanksgiving right after isn't exactly subtle, but
Yeah, this episode wasn't a particularly subtle one overall. It had some nice little moments, but it kind of felt scattered and unfocused a bit to me, I think.
Want to give us a plot recap?
Sure. This episode is the second episode of this 5th season in which Betty's actually appeared. She's been kind of pushed to the sidelines a little bit, mostly because she's not really relevant, to be honest. I mean, nothing that's happening in the show needs her presence all that much. So we've kind of forgotten about her, but she's come back a little bit, and it's kind of made the episode feel a little bit unconcentrated and a little bit all over the place, but still not a bad episode of TV. But the whole Roger and the Jewish wine company thing with Ginsberg, and Ginsberg being jealous of, or rather Don being sort of ignorant of Ginsberg. It worked, but it felt a bit scattered.
I didn't think that the whole devil thing was even serious. The way it was being sold by Don, it seemed like it was a joke, and the fact that they bought it I mean, it seems like in every season, Don has to have some sort of adversary at work. And of course, it's been Pete and Duck and various other people in the past, but now it seems like it's Ginsburg, and that really kind of came out of nowhere, and it not exactly something that it was built up correctly, and the fact that it was something so weird that came between them, and the fact that Don sold that, I don't really like it that much.
I did like the way that Don said, "I don't think about you at all" when they were in the elevator. It was that's a great line, and it was
that's a Don thing.
Yeah, it was a real power play. It was very, very Don.
Feels like there's nothing to talk about in this episode.
No, that's because it wasn't very good.
You got Betty going to the Weight Watchers and continuing to surround herself with people that are telling her she's great and she's not. I don't know. It's just like nothing that happens in this episode.
Yeah, it was kind of a nothing episode. The one thing that they talked about a little bit more was what was it? I don't think there really was anything.
Yeah, see, because there wasn't anything. I mean, yeah, like you said, it's got like we talked about Betty trying to dissolve Don and Megan's marriage, and she involves Sally in it when she was trying to draw the family tree, and throws away Bobby's drawing that has a note from Don to Megan on it. And towards the end of the episode, after Don had confronted Sally about it, when she confronted Megan about it, she seemed to have been on the Don Megan side with the way she talked to her mother, and the fact that they were talking affectionately about Anna, that pissed Betty off, and she threw things around like a child.
I would have loved to see Don call Betty and tell her off for doing it. I mean, it makes sense that Megan stopped him and that he did respond to that, respond to her trying to stop him from doing it. Because they were right about what they said about her just trying to mess things up. But I still would have loved to see it, because every time Don puts Betty in her place, it's really satisfying.
Yeah, because there's not many people can put her in her place except for Don, because he's such a towering figure over her, and he casts a dark shadow onto Betty. Did you like that?
Yeah, that was the title of the episode. Yeah, there's really nothing. There's a little bit about Megan and her actress friend, but I'm finding it difficult to give a shit about that storyline.
Yeah, this week's episode of Mad Men was stupid and nothing happened, so we're not going to talk about it anymore. Okay, everybody, we're going to bring this episode to a close after 2.5 hours of recording time, which saw 2 instances of us coming back and having a discussion and not recording.
And also a couple of instances of one of us lagging out as well.
A couple instances of a couple of us lagging out. Me being very giddy and laughy and non-cunty, as I normally am. But, yeah, this episode's over, and, do whatever you want for the next week. I guess. We'll see you.
Don't forget to check us out. We're now on iTunes. Just type in Betty Draper Sucks on your iTunes search, and we'll come up. Subscribe and add us, and make sure to rate us, and we'll go up in the ratings. See you later.
Anybody on iTunes who's listening, who hasn't seen us on YouTube, we are also on YouTube, and the channel is called Betty Draper Sucks. So go ahead and refresh our videos 1,000 times. Give us a lot of views so we can get Google Ads money.
We're up to 500 plays now on YouTube, so thanks for listening, everybody. Keep them coming, and we'll see you next week.